last night for that debate. Let's hear it! My name is Marco Mendocino, and as you all know, I am the federal Liberal candidate for Eglinton Lawrence. To Columbus Center. Thank you. Somebody's really excited this morning. Welcome to Columbus Center. Buongiorno a tutti to everybody who's gotten up here early, first thing on a Friday morning. The energy is fantastic. Can you feel it? Canadians saw a man last night who fights for his values and wins. Am I right about that? He's a man of his word. Justin Trudeau makes a commitment to you, and you can take it to the bank. Am I right about that? He says what he means. He means what he says, and he does what he says he will do. Believe me, I know it, because if it wasn't true, I wouldn't be standing here as your candidate. So please give a warm welcome.
But what a night last night, huh? Well, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I always enjoy the opportunity to fight for my values, to fight for Canada. And that's exactly what we did last night. I got to look Canadians straight in the eye and tell them about what we want to do with them, about the kind of country we want to build together, to build an economy that works for the middle class. Because an economy that works for the middle class means a country that works for everyone. To build a Canada that we're all proud of, a Canada that is strong, not in spite of its differences, but because of them. A strong, united Canada is what I believe in. I will never, ever hesitate to call out to those who pander to people who would break it up. I will always, always fight for it every minute of every day. There were a lot of people last night who tuned in who've only seen the image that Stephen Harper spent millions upon millions of dollars in attack ads to try and put in their heads. And I know what they were thinking. His hair's not that nice. You know, it's great to be here today in Eglinton Lawrence with our great candidate, Marco Mendocino. Marco is an important part of our strong team. As you know, he's a big part of this community, and his years of experience fighting to keep it safe from things like organized crime and terrorism means that he's exactly the type of person we need in Ottawa, thinking about the best ways we can keep other Canadian communities safe, too. And as you saw last night, there's certainly going to be quite the fight over the next 2 months, but I know Marco is ready for that fight. My friends, this is an important election. but I am determined to win it. The key to winning will be focus and discipline. Stay focused on the things that matter to people here in Toronto and across Canada. My opponents have spent a lot of their time and money focusing on my hair, on whether or not to say my name, and on many different things. I guess they think it'll bother me. And guess what? It doesn't. Because all this time, while Stephen Harper has been spending millions on TV ads attacking me, I've been focused on you. Jobs, on your community, on your retirement, on your hopes for your kids and grandkids, on building a plan and a team that will make a real, positive difference in your life. I spent these past 3 years with Canadians, here in the GTA and all across the country. And I hear the same thing everywhere I go. It's time for a change in Canada, a real change. Yes, people are tired of this cynical old government that spends all its time thinking about itself, and none of it thinking about Canadians. A negative, divisive government that never misses the opportunity to pick a fight that avoids every chance to solve a problem. But most of all, Canadians want change because Stephen Harper's economic plan isn't working for them. Économique est difficile pour la classe moyenne et rien n'indique que les choses vont s'améliorer. Stephen Harper nous traîne encore dans une récession et notre économie continue de prendre du recul. Ni M. Harper ni son ministre des Finances, Joe Oliver, ne vous le diront. Ils vous diront que ce n'est que temporaire ou que c'est la faute de la Grèce ou de la Chine ou de Kathleen Wynne ou de Rachel Notley. Now, Joe Oliver might tell you we're leading the G7 nations. We're not. He'll tell you he balanced the budget. We didn't. He'll tell you we're not headed into recession. We are. What do you expect from a government that promised to balance the budget in 4 straight elections? They took a decade of surpluses, turned that into 8 straight deficits. But you know what's more important than the numbers he's facing in Ottawa? The numbers you're facing here in Toronto and all across the country. Last night, Stephen Harper looked into your living rooms and told you to stay the course. My plan is working. Change is risky. Well, I don't know who it's working for. It's certainly not the Canadians I've met with over the past years. It's not working for a middle class that hasn't had a raise in 35 years. It's not working for lower income Canadians. They're working harder and harder to find that ladder of opportunity that should be there in Canada for people who work hard. It's not working for the millions of Canadians who are worried about their kids or whether they'll have a secure retirement. And I'll tell you this, when the plan isn't working, the real risk is sticking with the status quo. Lorsqu'un plan ne fonctionne pas, on le change. Vous voulez du changement parce que l'économie ne fait rien pour vous, et le gouvernement s'en fout. J'ai rencontré des milliers de Canadiens qui m'ont tous dit exactement la même chose. Vous travaillez de plus en plus fort et malgré tous vos efforts, c'est de plus en plus difficile d'arriver à la fin du mois. Mes amis, la vraie priorité dans cette élection, c'est vous. That, my friends, is what this election is all about. It's you. Out of steam, out of ideas, and out of touch with what's going on in the lives of everyday Canadians.
But you don't just want change for the sake of change. You want change that will make a real, positive difference in your life. We need a plan that will work and a team that will work hard to deliver it. We don't just need a different government in this country, my friends. We need a better one. This plan has failed because it's based on a bad judgment call. He thinks the way you grow this economy is to make wealthy people wealthier, to give the most to the people who need it the least. Why else would he send government checks to millionaires just because they happen to have children? The results have spoken for themselves over the past 10 years. Harper has the worst growth record of any prime minister in this country since R.B. Bennett in the depths of the Great Depression 80 years ago. We're 15th in economic growth in the G20 and the only G7 economy in recession. Canada has created half as many jobs under Harper as we did in the 10 years that preceded him. And most important, middle-class families are struggling. We just learned that Canadian wages actually fell this spring. We Liberals have a very different idea. We know the way to grow the economy is to strengthen the middle class and create better opportunities to join it. When the middle class is confident and prosperous, we create jobs, spur investment, and stimulate growth. So our plan is very different from the failed Conservative approach. We'll invest in the middle class, so that if you have 2 kids and your family makes $90,000 a year, you'll get $2,500 more every year tax-free. We'll give lower-income Canadians a real chance to break out of poverty. Instead of giving child support checks to the wealthy, we'll use that money to lift 350,000 kids. Canadian families will be better off in hard dollars and cents with the Liberal plan than they are under Mr. Harper's plan. We can do that because we will do what Mr. Mulcair and Mr. Harper won't do. We'll make the wealthiest 1% of Canadians pay more tax so the middle class can pay less. We will stop giving government checks to wealthy families so we can give more to the middle class and to lower income families. It's that simple, my friends. Quand j'ai accepté la direction de mon parti, j'ai dit que je passerais chaque jour, du matin au soir, à travailler avec acharnement pour bâtir une équipe solide et mettre en œuvre un plan qui fonctionne pour la classe moyenne. This election campaign, we're going to prove that we have that team and that plan. Right here in Eglinton Lawrence and all across this country. A moment too soon. Mr. Harper can't solve our economic problems because he's been in Ottawa too long to realize they actually exist. And Tom Mulcair? Well, Mr. Mulcair has shown that he can ask questions, but he doesn't have any answers. He talks about these problems, but has offered a mirage in response, not a plan. Mr. Mulcair likes to talk about what the middle class is going through, but he won't lift a finger to do anything about it. Let me give you an example. NDP candidates all over the country are knocking on doors, telling people they'll raise something they call the national minimum wage. What they don't tell you is what they mean by that. By national, they mean federally regulated industries. That's places like airlines and banks. Now, I spent a lot of time talking to people who make minimum wage across this country. They work in restaurants and coffee shops, behind motel reception desks, in big box stores, and in grocery stores. They work hard, very hard, and they're struggling mightily to get by. Now, Tom Mulcair's promise wouldn't give a single one of them a single solitary dime. In fact, the NDP's so-called national minimum wage won't apply to 99% of Canadians who make minimum wage. Now, Tom Mulcair won't tell you that, but he knows it. He says he'll help, but he won't. Call me old-fashioned. Maybe it was the way I was raised. But I believe the way you show you care about people is to help them. Now, the NDP says their policy is a symbol. Well, the hundreds of thousands of people working hard to get by a minimum wage in this country don't need a symbol. They need help. Yeah. Politics Mr. Mulcair is peddling when he pushes false hope to hard-working people. But none of those words is leadership. We've had enough of that kind of politics from 10 years of Mr. Harper's Tories. But it doesn't have to be that way. Change can happen, my friends. Real change. Au Canada, quand on travaille ensemble, on réussit ensemble. Yeah. Quand la classe moyenne prospère, c'est tout le pays qui gagne. Une classe moyenne plus forte, ça veut dire des meilleures infrastructures, des meilleures écoles et de meilleurs hôpitaux pour toutes les Canadiennes et les Canadiens. On doit donc créer plus d'opportunités pour donner la chance à tous d'améliorer leur sort et l'avenir de notre pays. Depuis 10 ans, on a un gouvernement qui n'écoute pas, qui préfère miser sur ce qui nous divise plutôt que sur ce qui nous unit. Le Canada n'a pas à être comme ça. Mes amis, nous pouvons changer. This is a very important election, and I'm determined to win it. Tired old government that has lost touch with what Canadians are going through and replace it with a strong team and a new plan that will make a real difference in your life. We want to build an economy that works for the middle class, because when you have an economy that works for the middle class, you have a country that works for everyone. Extra doors, make that extra phone call, and show Stephen Harper that all the money in the world can't stop change when Canadians want change.